Good morning, traders from Chicago. It is 9:02 a.m. Eastern U.S. time on Wednesday, the 18th of October, 2017. Thanks for joining me. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. This morning, uh, allocation looks to risk. Um, looks like the leader today again is crude oil. Along with RBOB. Crude oil's up to trading at 52.43, up 31 cents or 0.59%. The indices are strong this morning. The Russell is trading at 1505 or so, up 0.41%. That's the leader. The index, the equity index sector, the DAX is up 45 points and so on. Japanese yen is the laggard this morning, along with the U.S. Treasury bond and gold. Gold down $4.30, trading at $1,281.90 an ounce. So overall, we're breaking higher across several products. We're expecting a gap up. The S&P is trading about 3.5 points higher than yesterday's high. The close on the S&P was neutral extreme, and this is a continuation of that close. So we're looking for uh, a weak return or attempt to return back to yesterday's range, and for it to hold these prices up here. Again, same as what we've done over the last weeks, months, years. I don't know. It's all vague at this point, but. We did have a sideways market yesterday, very tight opportunities in the ES. It looked like whipsaws in the Russell, and today we're stronger. We're breaking higher. Um, let's take a look at what we expected yesterday. Here we go. So yesterday, the expectation is for to into value low, somewhere in the 52.50 area, and then push towards the high, but mostly expected sideways trading. It is basically what we got. This is what yesterday looked like right here. So let's expand this because it's just so tight. So the prior day's value low is right there. Market pushed to 52.25, and then it pushed towards the high right there. So it's overall yesterday's high of 57.75 basically. Um, is a double top with the prior session. The high was 57.75 yesterday, as it was the session before that. So what we have is a push and kind of a weird looking uh, cup and handle type of formation. Not really, but essentially it is very bullish on the close yesterday. So we ended up with basically hypo 1 playing out in the sense that it's just there was not much, there wasn't much on the downside. We're likely to push to the high of the session and hold up there. That's what we got overall. Hypo 2 was a test up high towards 25.57, 57.50, and then a push down to 25.49. Better opportunities in Hypo 2. Didn't see that at all. It did not take place. So that's how things are shaping up. As far as the overnight session, hang on, I pulled up the message screen. As far as the overnight session, volume is relatively in line, a little on the lightish side. Double distribution profile traded mostly in a very tight range through the Asian session. Did not really take off until 5 o'clock, 5 a.m. Central, 6 a.m. Eastern, to form a double distribution. Until that point, the entire range overnight, believe it or not, till about 3 hours ago, the entire range was less than a harmonic rotation in the ES day session. It was 2.25 points, 2.25 points for the entire overnight session. How absolutely boring that is. The overnight inventory is about 60 to 70% long, and the overnight volume, as witnessed by this delta here, is definitely on the buy side. So we expect a little bit of correction there on the open, rebalance, a little bit of responsive, but overall the expectations for the market to continue higher. So let's get down to the hypos here. Not much else to review. Overall, the expectation today, I thought I had some flex levels in here. I did send in some flex levels, measured moves up higher. They're not in here for some reason. I got to check on that. This morning, expecting an open auction that gets responsive, pushes to the mid of the mid of the gap zone, somewhere in here, bases, and then starts to push up, and I expect it to have an impulse up and then hold sideways. I expect resistance in the 25.65 area. So I expect the range to be in the 25.59, 25.65 area. That's scenario one. Okay, so I'm looking at the 50% gap zone tests as we've seen often. And then I'm looking for this to be an impulse up. I'm looking for this to hold higher prices today. Okay, so second scenario, open auction that gets initiative, starts to see a push up, consolidates, holds up here, makes a higher high, and then starts to revert back to the open on new all-time highs. We're going to open up and we're going to be in new all-time highs anyway. I expect this to be responsive, but in the end, I do expect the gap zone to remain open in scenario two. Scenario three is an open test drive, open, test higher, and then drive lower back into the range. I expect it to touch 56.75, consolidate here, and then start to push back up to close back in the somewhere around the mid of the range. This is an unlikely scenario, but we've seen this play out here and there. But most of all, I expect the gap zone to remain open as we've done in the past. Now, there's a lot out there, a lot of content out there that talks about how there are, ominous signs of a market that is about to correct and crash and so on. There's just a lot of it out there right now. And I'm here to tell you that it is not wise to start to let that filter into your consciousness while you trade. Trade what's in front of you. Don't trade what people think is going to happen. I mean, we have the information we need right in front of us. Why are we looking at what somebody somewhere thinks is going to happen? Here's the Russell. The Russell still has some really fantastic swings, in my opinion. Yesterday was definitely an amazing whipsaw type of day. We did have an open auction. You can see that we tested up, found the sellers. That's the opening swing high, pushed down, found the buyers at 2.2, and then pushed up to the opening swing high. See that consolidating, pull back to the open, and then boom, explosive up. Very logical rotation up. Rotates right to value high. Value here is borderline acceptable given that it's somewhat of a trend day the day before, and then it explodes downwards. Has about basically an 8-point move downwards to extend the range down. So now we're playing with the neutral stat of about 77%, and then it tests the prior day's low, below the prior day's low, does not get to this point of control, this naked point of control that we left behind a couple days ago. a few days ago, and then it just explodes the other way to give us a neutral day. This is just a horrible way to get to the neutral stat, to get the neutral stat done. It tests the other side, then it finds sellers there, consolidates, then you have the failed retest. This is the failed retest I keep redrawing, this kind of textbook example here. Pulls back to the OS, failed retest, and then breaks through the mid again, and then has another explosive, impulsive move down, flags, and then you have the continuation and now the correction back up. And so it's you're getting rotations in the Russell, but yesterday was definitely a very, very difficult day, very whipsawy day, which is which is fairly common in this product. But you still have the rotations here to do something with the day as opposed to being whipsawed and then the market just goes completely sideways. So that's the scene of yesterday's trading. Yesterday ended up looking a lot like what we had on Monday. You see the market dropping to the low end and then moving the point of control down and hanging just like it has here, hanging at the low end of the range. And that's what we see. That's what we saw yesterday. However, in the overnight, there was a lot of good news, I guess, pushing us higher. There's a lot of pressure to the upside, and therefore we are now rotating up. Here's the overnight session, just like it was in the ES. Pretty tight overnight session until 5 a.m. Central, and then we start to trend up. We have a double distribution profile, point of control on the high end, and we are moving back into this big high volume area. So overall, the overnight session had fairly light volume at 66, 67. If you're superstitious, it's not a very good number, but um, overall, pretty light volume. Even though the market is moving higher, inventory is positive overnight in volume and in price, and so that's where we stand. As far as the bigger scenario here, when we look at the Russell, it has been clearly divergent from the other indices, has been channeling down, as I talked about for several days now. The Russell is following what we expect to be a fairly consistent lower high kind of test. It keeps moving the point of control lower, 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 and now we're breaking higher today. We're trading at 1509. 1505.90 or point 0.9, and we're holding back in the point of control area. I'm going to get rid of this trend line because it is no longer useful. And then extend the range, the MC forward. Here we are. We hit that MC point of control yesterday from below, very clean. That was our resistance on that push up before the quick drop. Very, very clean test here. Again, much more logical auction than I see in other products. Now, what we expect for today, we're trading at 1506 right now. What I'm expecting for today, we are not gapping higher. The Russell is definitely relatively weak to the ES and other products. Small caps are not holding up as well as the large caps. And so this morning we're opening in range out of value. The expectation is for the Russell to get initiative initially, push up into that 150880 area. And then find some resistance to push lower. In the end, I expect it to hold inside of yesterday's range. I'm not expecting a trend up of any kind in scenario one. That is scenario one. I expect it to fail, test higher, but fail the impulse down, and then finish somewhere in the middle. Okay? 1 second. Excuse me. I thought I muted. I apologize for that. I have a bad cold or something. Um, The second scenario, I'm looking for it to have an open auction again to move down in sympathy with the other indices, and then we're likely to have our impulse up to 1508.80, push up into the point of control, get tangled up here, and then run higher into the close. That's scenario 2. This changes things. If this happens, if we end up pushing through the point of controls and trending higher in the Russell, it changes this downtrend, breaks the downtrend, and we're likely to see new Russell highs, even though they're lagging behind what the ES has been doing. Okay, so that's that. I'll leave it as short as I can. Good luck, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Sorry about the noises. I really thought I muted my mic there for a second. Take care.